Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee, and this is Let's Talk. And I'm here today with my co-host Hollis Lewis, and we're gonna shift off of some of the topics that we've been on here of late. We may touch them a little bit later, but one of the things that I have found interesting over the last couple of days that piqued my interest is I grew up being, the stereotypical athlete that was interested in sports solely. My whole function, the whole reality of what I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to get there. Like, I had that in mind, and I was so bad when it came to the having that backdrop, that thing that can save you,
Yeah.
Everybody would make the case that, but if you don't make it, then school's there. And let me say this to anybody who's listening, that I'm not saying that that's right and that's the way you have to do it, because it is not right and it is not the right way to do it. But it was just me. Like, I didn't want to, my mom would always preach to me about having something to fall back on. You had to have your education to fall back on. And I could get it, I could understand it, but I kept, somewhere in my own mind, I kept thinking, well, but if I get tired, if I'm running or something and I get tired, I'm like, well, I can fall back on my grades. As stupid as that sounds now, it is who I was. And, fortunately, I stayed healthy enough to get to where I wanted to go. But today, I think when I look at sports, and you look at some of the rules and regulations and the opportunities that kids can get, or college kids can do, with the NIL and all that. Like, I can remember being in school and kids flunking out. I'm sure you can remember being in college and kids flunking out, athletes flunking out, not being eligible. I don't know if you hear of that happening now. The crazy thing about this, and me and Dave was talking about this a little bit after or in between the show earlier, was, if you got $700,000 of NIL money to play, are you going to be ineligible?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but where, and then there's a ton of options, reclassification, right, wrong, or indifferent. And again, let me make it very clear. I'm not making a case that you're doing the right or wrong thing, but I'm just comparing to what how it used to be done, how sports was always second, and you were always considered a student athlete. But I think now the things that we're doing for our kids are, in a sense, what we think at least is for the betterment of their athletic future.
Yeah.
Which is unknown. Am I wrong, or where are we on this?
Well, let me touch on a couple things. I think that, your mindset when you were, probably in high school, middle school, whatnot, and you were actually trying to achieve this goal, I think that's actually the correct mindset. I don't think you enter stuff with like this backup plan. Like, if you know wholeheartedly, I mean, some of us don't know until we kind of maturate through a process. But if you know from the onset, I want to do this, then I would tell any kid, you go after it full-fledged.
Right.
Forget a backup plan. You go after it. And because for instance, if you didn't work out as a football player, you might have put that same effort into being a trainer or being into a coach, or you might have actually, wanted to do something still within the realm of what you were doing, just maybe not the main thing, maybe, right?
Yes.
So I think that your mindset actually was correct, and probably your mindset is what carried you to get to where you got to. And I think, but not for that mindset, it probably wouldn't have happened. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, if our young people can really, once they figure out what they want to do, particularly if they can feel like, once they can figure out if they're young, it's such a blessing because you have all this time to work towards it. It's this rapper named Meek Mills. He's one of the hottest young rappers, or in the game or whatever. And he said one time, he was like, yeah, everybody says I was an overnight success. I've been rapping since I was 13, and I got my first major deal when I was 26. He said, I've been rapping consistently for 13 years, going after this moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I love the mindset, and I think that's what you got to have. As far as the second portion of it, I think that, as far as when we grew up, I think, it was athletics first, right?
There was a true student athlete. They treated you like a student athlete, yes.
But I don't know if we carried it like a student athlete. Okay. You know what I mean? I think, because I know when I was in high school, middle school, it was about playing football. It was about playing sports. Mm-hmm. And then everything else was second to that. Grades and all that stuff was just simply a byproduct of me wanting to do this. So I think in the mind of the athlete, it's always been athletes first, or interest first, or band first, or theater first, or whatever your interest is first. You know what I'm saying? I think now the difference is that not to say it wasn't cool to be smart when we were young, but nobody was really boasting about their grades. That wasn't the thing to do. I'm just saying, think about it. Right. It just wasn't. Right. I think now is like, hey, you could put on your Twitter, hey, I run a 4.2 and I bench this, and these are my highlights. And also I got a 4.0 in that's my grade point average. So I think now it is the thing to do to say, look, I have this. I'm this smart, and I'm getting this grades. I have a 3.5. It's cool to accentuate that now. And in addition to your point about, if you got this NIL money, you got this scholarship, you getting this attention. As far as flunking out, I just think you have too many tools now. You know what I mean? They got tools where it's called like Chat GPT, where it can write a paper for you. You plug in, I want to write a paper about Carl Lee. I want to write a paper about, the Civil War. It will spit out a paper for you. Now you can, you got to go back and edit it and flip this around, change this around. But it's too many tools out here now for you to fail. You know what I mean? And I just think I think if we have to be honest with ourselves about kind of where we're at with society, because I think we're going to go to a European model sooner, I think, than what we realize. And it's going to be, you're going to go to this school's for athletes, and part of your curriculum is going to be whatever sports you play.
A training setup.
It's going to be a training setup. You're going to go to school, you're going to have these classes, but half the school is going to be dedicated to you, whatever sports you play. You're going to have vocational schools, which they already have, but I think it's going to go full time. So you're going to go to school, get your basic, reading, writing, arithmetic, and then you're going to go be a mechanic or electrical engineer, stuff like that. So I think education has got to catch up to where we are in this society.
And there are a host of really talented athletes who play, I'll use high school to college, that are really good football players or basketball players or baseball players or track or whatever the sport may be, that are great students, But it seems to be, though, that the reach that they still want is the sport. And I think the uncertainty of the potential of getting that scholarship that you want, even though you can get a academic, you could probably have 1,000 academic scholarships out there, but what you want is that one full scholarship to say that I can play football.
Yeah.
When that doesn't show up, what I can't figure out is what that feel is. Because are you still satisfied because you're like, because I'll make the case, if I don't end up with a college scholarship in football, but school was not going to be in my DNA. You know what I'm saying? And no matter, I mean, even I just don't know how I would have been able to sit in school, come to a football game, watch a football game as a student, and trying to just get some grades for my future. I just don't know how I don't know how. I mean, I was that bad in.
No, I mean, I was too. Like, I couldn't imagine, even when I came back and played my last year when I could have graduated the year before that, because I hated the fact that I was in this school and I wasn't playing. It was a weird feeling. But I think some people, maybe they don't associate it, the two as like being together. They can go to school and school is school and sports is sports. So when the kind of sports is over, there's still school there. I don't know if they're synonymous with one another. You know what I mean? Like, I think for you and I, at some point, for you probably more badly than me, it was synonymous. It went together. It was one of one. One didn't exist without the other. Yeah. I don't know if most people really kind of, not gonna say most people, I don't know if a lot of people take it like that. They can sort of separate the two out.
Well, and okay, so which takes me to this. The reclassification process. I don't know how it got started. I don't know how long it's been there.
Yeah. I think it became prominent with like COVID and stuff like that.
Okay,
yeah.
So, and again, do you and be as successful at it? But I just want to like try to figure out for my own understanding. I'm gonna stay in the 7th grade or 8th grade one more year because of this. Mm-hmm. And the primary reason, because I'm solid academically.
Yeah. The primary reason is sports.
Is to stay so that I can advance and be better or older. Does older make you better? So you take your kid, you keep them back. Mm-hmm. They may be good.
Yeah.
But is that you're going to make them greater than what they are if there's no work being put in? Some kids, I know some kids for sure who have been reclassified, but I also know this. They're putting in time, whether it be on the court, whether it be on the field, whatever that is. They're putting in time. So they're not just saying, I'm going to just sit here and hope to be older and stay in the same class.
I look at it differently. I think when you start to, it's really about the mindset, because I think most kids now, they're putting in work because they're not playing otherwise. For example, if you have a kid now and he plays football, unless he's training, or they're in season playing games, they ain't outside playing tackle football like we was. So I think a lot of kids, I would say most kids that I know, middle school, high school, they putting in some level of work, whether it's getting training, footwork, speed work on the, weightlifting, whatnot. To me, when you talk about classification, I look at it, what's the mind? What's in your mind not as the parent, because like you said, when we talk about these things, this is all just about sports. This ain't about no darn academics. No. They don't sell me none of that. Stop it. This is about wanting your kid to have more experience to be better at a particular level. So when I look at those kids, I analyze, are you having fun? Is this something that you want to do as the kid?
Right.
Is this about, do you have a Carl Lee mindset where you actually thinking like this could actually help take you to the next level or whatever that may be, whether it's NFL or college scholarship or just being able to play, being a really good high school player? So when I look at those things, I try to assess what's the kid's mindset, because we already know what the parents is on.
Okay, so then, where do you think? And again, excuse the ignorance because I did not get a chance to look this actually up. The reclassification can go at what level can you no longer reclassify? Because if I was going to reclassify, I'm reclassifying as early as possible. to me. Okay? Because again, to your point of training,
Yeah.
because if you reclassify as a sophomore in high school, and you've already put a year in, you pretty much are defined of who and what you are, because you're by your work ethic.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I would say that.
You know, like if you're not working and training by that point, and you got a couple more years to play.
Well, let's be clear. I don't think a parent is looking at their kid who they know ain't putting in no work and going to go all through that effort and reclassify them. You're looking at somebody who you think got a little something already. So I think we can probably assume that if you're going to reclassify your kid, it's probably somebody, some talent and a little bit of work to him
But
already.
if you're so
Or her.
but to that, when you're looking at that, if you're looking at that at a youth level, a kid that's talented at the youth level is not really defined as talent because he's playing in a group.
Well, no, he can be defined as talent.
He is talented. And maybe even more talented than his other teammates, and maybe some, but that's not the measure. Because I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to get height. He's got to get this.
Closely, you looking too deep. They're not looking at all that.
I know they're not, but I'm saying that's my concern about the reclassification and the reality of I want just let's say my grandson. What I want my grandson to do is I want him to be able to play any sport that he chooses to play, or if he's going to be great in school, great.
Yeah.
But if he's going to play a sport, I just want him to have fun and be good. Mm-hmm. I want him to decide whether or not what he wants to do in his own life. And I would never push it. I would never push him to football. You know, I didn't push Dominique to football. You know, my son, it didn't matter that much to me. I wanted him to be him. And I don't know that if a parent is really needing you to be successful to get a college scholarship, so that you can go, I understand.
Well, I think we're getting into like a slightly different argument because that's kind of a moral, ethical argument based on the individuals. As far as to answer your initial question, as far as what I've seen the reclassification happen in middle school, and in some instances, I've seen it happen in particularly early in the high school, 9th, 10th grade year.
Yeah.
Generally, with those situations, or if it's later in high school, it's generally like for a reason they do that. But I think that a parent looking at their kid, particularly, and I'm not really talking about youth, I mean like middle school, high school, if they're looking to reclass their child, I think you're looking at it for a couple reasons. Number one, they could have maybe they didn't play at a youth level. They missed a couple years, so their development's a little bit slow, although you see some potential happening. Yeah. Or you looking at a situation in which they're just too young for their class, and you feel like, well, if I hold them back, they'll be able to really maximize their potential at this. Like my daughter, for instance, my daughter's a young sophomore. She's 15. She's a young sophomore, so she'll graduate at 17. If there was some really, really legitimate, if she wanted some like athletic, she has some prowess, but if she wanted it, like internally wanted it, and she's like, Dad, maybe I need to step, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a conversation there, you know what I'm saying? But it has to be based on the individual. And it has to be, and the bigger point is like, if the kid is kind of not wanting it, but if it's going to really help them. Now, the question is that in what instance does a reclass help you? Like, when does it legitimately help you?
Because I do think,
you know what I mean?
I'm not, and again, I'm not saying that it does not, it can't help, or but I think that we have some.
But does it help, though? I guess is what I'm asking. Does it?
I'm going to make the case that if by some chance I can get another year to get bigger, stronger, faster, then I want to get that year.
Okay.
But the question becomes, if it's just regular practice, it's just regular games, you may get better But how do you judge the year that you're the oldest out on the court or out on the field? You're one of the oldest kids out there, and your skill set is shining because
based off your experience.
Because you're experienced and older. So
see, that's the part I don't know how you gauge.
See, and that's the scary thing to me about why. Like, I would be afraid to do that because it gives me another year to get a risk of injury.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
So I need to put in as much as I can put in now. Wherever I'm at, wherever I am, if my goal is to try to get, or my parents think I am really great and thinking about should I reclassify, I'll make the case that what is the work that's going to be put in by you waiting?
See, I think I would maybe look at it from a standpoint. For example, if I had a son, he's a sophomore and you got this, he plays quarterback, one of those positions where the backup is just not going to get time, right?
Right.
He plays a position like that, if you're whatever that may be, and you got you're a freshman and you got a sophomore who's really good and he's a junior in front of him. So at best you're going to have 1 year, probably your senior. You're going to have to wait till your senior year to play quarter to really start, and maybe you're in line to do it. So maybe I might think if I'm looking at the kid behind him, it's like it's not really happening. It's not really much behind him. Let me reclass so maybe he can get 2 years at the helm as opposed to 1. So maybe strategically, if you're thinking at it in that sort of way, maybe it might be worth it at that point. But I don't know, like I said before, I don't know if you do these things without like having a plan or without having some like reasoning behind it. Because we're just talking about, to your point, he could go work out and still not be maybe that's not his ceiling, or maybe his ceiling is there, and maybe it's going to be a kid who's just more talented and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a weird thing. I just know, like, for me, that's probably not in the car something I would do. You just got to go figure it out.
See, I really am. What is interesting to me about this is like I haven't been able to really find a reason that I could say that I would do that I would want to do that for myself if I was a kid. And again, never would have been an option, but like, would I have done that?
Based off, would you do it for your grandson? If your grandson was in a position where he was at a level, or he was in the same grade as a guy who was above him, they're both pretty good players. These are collegiate level players. It's just that this kid is just a little bit better than him, and he's not really going to get the chance to fill out his full potential. But if you hold him back a year, then he'll be able to at least have that 1 year to really, he'll be the man. He'll be able to start and really maximize potential at the high school level. So I'm saying in that instance, is it something that you would possibly consider based on, like, if you with your grandson?
I would say no, because my grandson's making straight A's.
No, forget that. I'm saying.
No, I can't. But
we're just talking athletic. We're just talking athletics.
No,
he gonna make straight A's regardless.
No, because see that's the key. It is student athlete.
It's not though. We can sit here and say that.
But for me, when you're asking me, I still buy. You know what I'm saying? I'm buying into the consistency and the relevance of a student athlete.
Okay, but let me
I was not a
but let me throw this.
athlete.
Let me throw this at you. Okay, your son's really good. Your grandson's really good. He's a Division I level. He meets all the metrics, blah, 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 blah. He got all that. But he ain't got no tape because he got this guy in front of him. So his senior year, and by you not reclassing him,
I see where you're going.
It's going to cost you maybe a possible 2-3 years of paying for Marshall until he can earn that scholarship, as opposed to if you reclassing, he shines for that year, then he can earn the money, then he can earn that scholarship in school's free at that point. So I'm saying, thinking of it like that as a financial decision, does that change things?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I think you can make the point that it absolutely could change things. Now, with my dad.
But not your dad. I'm talking about your grandson. You.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. If my son said,
because we can't judge them because they didn't have those options.
Right.
I'm saying now we got to think of the now.
but if my son came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I think, we call him Nico. I think that Nico could be, pretty good. But I could hold him back, because he's young and he could do another year at this particular age, wherever that mark is."
Yeah.
And I think if he does that, I think he could really end up being, a solid athlete and may get a chance, an opportunity to get a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
My first thing, buy this or not, my first thing is going to say, what's his grades? You say straight A's, I'm going to say no.
Why does that matter though?
Because I know,
Because
I know academically,
mm-hmm.
he has an opportunity to become something that is has more potential and life sustaining than he does in sports.
Okay, but I'm saying if all things created equal, if you're not going to get that same level of scholarship, we're just talking about initially. And I'm saying if you're not going to get that same, maybe you get your grades to get you a 3/4 or halfway there as far as payment is concerned, but the athleticism can get you that full. And I'm saying, would you at that point say, okay, son, let's just hold him back this year. Let him play this next year. We just need to build some tape and we can go and get him that full ride. He still got the A's. The A's ain't going nowhere.
All right. I'm gonna let me think on this, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee and Hollis Lewis, and we're here with Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and we are discussing the relevance or importance or the reality of, I guess, reclassification and the reasonings behind why to do it or when you should do it. And so he's testing me. He's utilizing my grandson as the option of whether or not I would be willing to tell my son to hold him back because there's an opportunity for him to be this great athlete, even though he has the straight A's.
Mm-hmm. And let me just say this just before you answer. I'm agreeing with the sentiment that I don't know that I would do that. And I'm using my daughter. My daughter is a 4.0 student, right? So I don't know if I would say, okay, well, we're going to hold you back because you're going to play sports again. I don't know. But I also know that maybe her heart necessarily isn't all into athletics. So I'm assuming in the scenario that we're using is your grandson's a great student and his heart, he like you. He about that football, basketball, baseball, whatever his sport is. He about that. He just needs some more tape.
But he's not about that. But I'm
just staying
with you. I'm staying with that.
And we don't know. He's young.
Yeah, he's young.
He could be about that later.
So I would have to sit down and talk to my son and my grandson, and because at the end of the day it would be my son's choice. But based on the conversation that we're having,
just saying today, hypothetically, it's your decision.
So what I understand and what I've seen in sports at any given day, it's over.
Yeah.
And so if you have straight A's and you're a solid student, and there's a chance that you can be something different.
Yeah.
I'm happy if I can see my grandson walk through the door and come through in a suit like you got. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm proud of that. It don't have to be sports for me.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm more interested in taking what is the safest road.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take the safest road. Most of us don't.
Yeah, I mean,
so what you want for your grandson or for your son, you want something better. You want something better. As great as sports was for me,
yeah,
I saw a whole bunch. I got a chance to start because a dude broke his leg, and bro, he was gonna make the team, and he was better than me. He was a natural corner. He was gonna make the team. That don't happen. This might not happen.
Yeah.
And I know that that's sports, but those A's, all those A's consistently, but they do something. You can attest to that.
Yeah.
Those grades put you in a suit.
And again,
and what football does is put you in a ball cap and a t-shirt.
But I'll say this too, and to your point, and I'm being a little facetious. If my daughter was kind of the same, if we're using the same scenario as your grandson, my daughter was like, she's neck and neck with somebody. Just that person's a little bit better. She's going to see a year. So she's college good enough, but she just really don't got the tape to do it.
Right.
And you got the grades and everything, I'm assuming all those things.
And they want to see you on tape.
Yeah, they want to see a little bit more tape. My question, now again, the strategist in me would say, okay, let's hold back. Let's do this, But what I know to be true, if you want this, you're going to have to fight for it.
Yes.
You got to fight. And
Yeah.
if you want this, your road might look a little different than everybody else. You might have to go to JUCO. You might have to go up. You might have to go to state or UC and play up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And really dog out and really earn it up. Getting that transfer portal and go up. So I would want her to see her, or even your grandson, I want to see him be a dog about it. Are you really about this, or are you just saying you about this? See, that's the part I would want to see.
Yeah,
because like you said, I don't got to worry because I know that you have a certain level of intellect that probably can carry you through to some level of success. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to worry. It's not like a situation like mine where I had to build up to that.
Right. It was and for me, it was do or die.
It was do or die. You see what I'm saying? I had to build up to that. So with her, it would almost be a luxury to let me sit back and see how much of a dog you are when it comes to this, if this is what you say you want. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see that process. Maybe you wasn't all that in high school. Maybe you don't got the tape. Maybe you really wasn't a starter like everybody else. But you got the metrics, height, you fast, you've been working out, you've been working all crazy. Let's see if you really about this. And if you really about this, the cream gonna rise to the top.
Because I buy into, and I know, and I can't, for me to talk about sports is impossible to not to talk about my dad. Mm-hmm. But my dad understood that it was going to take work. Mm-hmm. And so he knew I had to work. He wasn't going to make me work. He was going to provide the things that I needed to work. If I say I needed this, I could get that.
Yeah.
I ain't using it now, we got a problem. But for me, he didn't have to worry about it. I was always going to use it as much as I could because I didn't want another option. I didn't want anything else other than
and that's
Sunday.
A rarity.
And it is.
It's like Derek Pitts. I could see him and you in sort of that same vein where it was like it was that. You know what I'm saying?
And when you say that you knew that you were that, that's not an arrogant statement. It was just that it's just because there wasn't no guarantee that I could make it.
Let me say this: when people say stuff like that, "Oh, you being arrogant," that's your problem. That's not. That ain't my problem. You know what I'm saying? That ain't Coach Lee's problem. I knew what it was. You didn't. I can't help because you insecure.
I just I mean, because at the end of the day, like I was never going to make a case that if you needed me to get 10 more pounds. Oh, I'm gonna go get them 10 pounds.
Yeah. Just like if you needed to get an A in this class, you was gonna get the A in the class to play. Point blank.
Anything necessary.
Yeah.
By any means necessary, I was going to follow that case, that path to get to Sunday.
Yeah.
Had to get to Saturday first. Mm-hmm. Had to be solid on Friday first.
Yeah.
Okay. Classification, changing that doesn't change anything if you're not putting in time.
I mean, it depends on your reason.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Just saying reclassification for an athletic reason does nothing for you if you don't have a workout routine of some sort that's other than just going to practice.
Now, I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, I guess what I'm speaking on is just if there's other reasons why you need this kid to hang around or to play this sport, then I can see that.
What is that reason? What?
I mean, it just maybe they're a knucklehead. Maybe you can't release them. Maybe the only thing that's going to make them mind themselves is to play this sport. And maybe they're not mature enough to be at this level yet, or in this grade yet, or they're not ready to move on to high school yet. So man, let me hold this kid back in 8th grade. Let me keep him around or her around. You see what I'm saying? I think there's reasons why. And again, because I don't want to sit here and say, well, there's no reason.
No,
I think there's reasons to do it. I just think that, like I said, I think those reasons are far and few between. And I don't know if you're doing your son or your daughter a big favor by just holding them back just because you just want them to be better than everybody else in their grade. I think that takes a little bit of that could, not for everybody, but that could take a little bit of the dog out of them.
Well, and again, I want to make it clear that I'm not pro or con against it. But the question today, though, is if it is all for the athletic side, I think there's a whole lot of other things in the athletic side that will matter that you can or can't get. If you're reclassified and you stay the same, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't put any extra work in.
But the thing about that, that's very hard to judge, because what ends up happening is, to your point, if you reclass, so let's say you're in 8th grade, you reclassify, you get another 8th grade year. You stay the exact same way what you was, but now you got a whole year of experience. You don't really get better technically or skill-wise or bigger, faster, stronger.
You're just used to the system and how
you got used to the system. You have more experience than the other kids, and you're just better than those other kids at that level. That's not going to be found out until you go to that next level. So when you get in high school, you got to wait a whole really 2 years to see
if it worked.
If it worked. And that's kind of hard to tell, because in some, not all instances, but in some instances, you may not be able to tell, particularly if the kid has some talent. You know what I mean? You may not be able to tell until they get to high school, until they reach that next level. So that's the tricky part about it. To your point, if you are doing it for athletic reasons, you better be putting in some work.
Well, and I would do this. If I'm gonna say 8th grade. Mm-hmm. If I got an 8th grade kid, and I'm thinking about reclassifying him. So I want to go watch some high school ball. Mm-hmm. Wherever his high school is going to be, wherever I'm going to take him to high school, whatever the case may be, I'm going to go there and watch them play. I'm going to take my son and we're going to watch them play. And now the question becomes, can you get to that guy? Can you get to that guy? Because if you reclassify to sit on the bench, I mean, and most 9th graders do. But if you reclassifying, when you get to high school, you got to be a
Are you ready to go now?
Yeah, are you ready to go now?
Yeah, I can see that.
Because you can get the same thing. You can kind of get the same thing when you come in as a 9th grader.
You're just gonna sit anyway.
There. Yeah, you're gonna sit anyway.
I can see that. I mean, I can see that. I can see that. I mean, I that's actually a good point. That's probably maybe the pertinent point. Is like, are you ready for that? Like, if we're gonna sit out, if we're gonna reclass, we're gonna do this whole thing over. By the time we get up here, are you ready?
Ain't no reason to be a great middle school star and then go and sit with all the ninth graders that are coming to the high school. You're gonna be sitting in the sport
start JV
and start JV
because you could have done that the year before.
You could, yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, that's probably the pertinent point. If you're doing it for athletic reasons, which I would say 99% of the people are.
And I'll say this again. Hollis or I are not. I don't dislike the reclassification.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to it. I don't none of that. The interesting component to me is I'm old school, so I don't know, and so I thought it was interesting of what you do and why you do the reclassification and the purpose of it, and then once you get into the purpose of it, how do you reframe? How do you reshape your student athlete?
That's a good question.
Because you've told them for a long time you got to get your grades, and let's say they follow that. You got a great student athlete, but now you're pushing the sport as the most. It becomes the most important piece to it.
Yeah,
and. Is he confused of what am I supposed to be doing here? And you can't control whether or not he actually can get on the court or get on the field or on the track or,
I guess you
or
can
whatever.
Transfer 1,000 times.
Well, yeah, transfer. And I think, again, part of that transfer is an alternative too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's reclassification and it's all about, I won't say all about, but I'm going to make the case that it's about the athletic ability.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I just, to me, like considering like, because a lot of people don't know like my upbringing, my story, right? Like they don't know where I'm from. They see wherever I'm at now, and then like practice presentism against me is like as though I've like been here, right? But I know to me, sort of the antithesis of like growing and really seeing what your kid got is comfort. Because I know I've sort of made some of those mistakes where I've almost, now that I have a kid in high school, it's like maybe at some points I made her feel too comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I know at the very least, if one of my daughters turns out to be an athlete, I want to see you scrap it out.
Right.
Like, I just want to see you scrap it. So if you ain't playing, if you got this kid who's better than you, what you gonna do?
See,
what you gonna do?
That's the most. That's
Are
the
we
most
gonna fight
valuable,
or not?
That's the most valuable lessons that because you're gonna have somebody on the work job, you know.
But here's the thing, though. It's like, like I said, our lives are vastly different than our kids' lives. Like, for example, your home life might have been comfortable. You may not have grew up with rats and roaches and your lights cut off. But if you go out to the neighborhood, you're gonna get into a little scraps. You're gonna have to prove it on the neighbor. You got to constantly prove it every day in the neighborhood. Whether you're going to Vandalia to hoop or whatever, you got to prove it that you are what you say you are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's friendly competition or if it was just like I said, our generations, you and I, it was all of everything we did was competition. From the way you dressed to actually playing park ball to playing on the fields on Fridays and on the hoop court. Our kids ain't growing up like that. Our kids are growing up in a level. I ain't saying everybody's kid, but some of our kids is growing up in a level of comfort that's almost like scary because they don't just have to. Their worries aren't the same. So at the very least, on the court, on the field, whatever sport you playing, I got to see you scrap it out, man. If this is what you say you want, you got to go get it.
And see and to your point, I'm in my community. And bro, I'm not the best player in my community. You know, I can't outplay Harold Pennell. I can't outplay Ricky Dunham. Like those dudes, Ricky, way better football player than me. Harold, a way better basketball player and probably could have been a better football player than me. I already know that. So I got to see these dudes every time we play.
Practice on whether you practice for the school or you just in the park.
You in the park? You know how big it is to be big in the park.
In the park, back in the day, but that's where everybody at.
Yes, everybody there. Everybody want to figure out who's the best.
Who the man?
I came out of my community never being that guy.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's like you got to scrap it. So I know for my kid, I'm just saying, if I had a kid in that situation, again, I don't fault no parents for what they do. That's on you. I just know if I had my kid, I want to see you scrap it out. You got to scrap it out.
I think, yeah, and I think there's something in the sport. There's something that you can see in the sport. I don't care if it's basketball, but it's easily seen in football. And track is easily visible for showing what kind of skill set you got.
Yeah, but even in the neighborhood back in the day, we racing.
Oh yeah, we racing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so it's everything.
We marking off a distance, have no idea what that distance is, and we trying to figure out who's the fastest. Who the fastest on the street?
Who the fastest on the street? Who could throw the farthest? Who the best at football? Tackle football? Who the best at basketball? It's constant competition we grew up under.
And I think that kind of mindset that we had, that I don't think is there now.
It's not. I can say that definitively.
Yeah, and I think that was always like, you start picking, go play basketball and you got to pick 10, right?
Yeah.
I'm already counting, trying to figure out
where are you at,
where I'm at, because I ain't number one, I ain't number two. You know,
might be 3, 4.
Yeah, I might be 4
That's
or 5.
where you at.
Yeah, and you live in that kind of stuff. Reclassification ain't helping me.
That's what I'm saying. Because ain't no reclassifying in the neighborhood.
Ain't no reclassifying.
So, I guess to me, and that's funny, we got to this point. That's my point. It's just that I don't know. Like I said, I think the kids are better trained now. I think they got more knowledge. Mm-hmm. I think they put more effort into their grades. I think they do a lot of good things now. But I think the one thing that I would probably trade in for some of that is just that the competition on a daily ain't there.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
The competition, the daily competition.
Daily.
And or that need for competition that you want. You beat me 2 days ago, bro, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Let's play again.
But the
other piece of that, is I don't think that they don't have the mindset to be that true dog, to put that time in.
But I think that's created. I think that depends on circumstance. I think if you're looking at a person who's athletically, if this is my way out of my circumstances, I think that exists. But I think outside of that, I don't know if that exists when you're living in comfortability. I think you have those kids. I would say like a Derek Pitts. I think whatever was going on when he was young, if added fuel to the fires to say, I'm gonna make it so big where I'm going to make it out of this. But I don't know if a lot of kids, if you ain't in that, if you living in comfortability, why am I fighting this hard? I got a car. I got a cool place to stay. Mom and dad is doing okay. You're see what I'm saying? You're not hungry. Yeah. You're not hungry for it. So I think there's a difference between hungry and those kids. But to the point that we just made, I think no matter where you were at as far as your comfortability level, kind of when we was coming up, you was hungry because that's what the environment said be. Because you was going to school, everything was judged. Your shoes was judged. Your clothes was judged. If you was athletic, and between the guys, who was the fastest, who was the strongest, everything was freaking competition.
Everything.
Playing cards, playing the video games, everything was a competition. It was always sort of a ranking system with who was in your neighborhood. Who the best basketball player? Who the best football player? Who the best dressed? Who the best on the video games?
Who the toughest dude? Who's the toughest dude in the neighborhood?
Who the tallest? Who can jump the fire? Everything had a pecking order. But now, because of maybe some societal changes, that's some good, some bad.
Okay, can you? And I know we're almost close to the end. Yeah. Can you help me with how did that shift?
I think a couple things happened. I think obviously when we started phone, internet, people became more indoors.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So kids don't run out in the neighborhood like that. And I think to some degree, I'm not going to sit here and say society got soft, but society changed in that they started to look at these pecking orders, these natural rankings that we would pit ourselves in as bad things. They started to look at me clowning you because you got on some old shoes as a bad thing instead of you like, man, I'm about to go get this paper route. I'm about to go because it will make you figure out that I got to go do something to correct this.
Correct that, right?
You know what I'm saying? Whether You know what I'm saying? I would go get a paper route. I'm gonna do extra chores. I'm gonna get this money up. But now everything has got to be accepted. Everything, you come as you are. Everybody's good. Everything's equal. So I think what it did was just like it pit equality over equity. And I think that's what changed. Because if I'm the best basketball player, I should be celebrated for that. If I'm the best dressed, I should be celebrated for that. If I'm got the best grades, I should be celebrated for that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas just saying now equality is just saying, well, we got to celebrate something good about everybody. Instead of you, like you said, I'm the third, fourth pick on the team. When we playing park ball, how do I go from fourth to second to first? You know what I'm saying?
And if you're not working on that,
and if you're not working on that,
you steady stay there, and if you get content there,
yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah. Because you got to find, like we just use basketball as an analogy, you got to find something to do. So you may not be the tallest, but maybe you can dribble the best. Maybe you the fastest with the basketball. Maybe you can shoot the best. Maybe you can go to the hole the best. So it forces you, at least it did us, I think, it forces you to find something that you're great at. So maybe I ain't playing basketball. I'm stick football because I'm great at that.
And I knew basketball was not my sport.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I knew because everybody could shoot better than me.
Yeah.
You know, now I got a chance to play some defense and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But I knew basketball was not.
But it forced you to say that. It forced you to think that.
Yes.
Now, I may not be the best shooter, but I'm going to lock you up.
Yes, I can cover you.
I can cover you.
Yes.
So now we're going to pick Carl. We ain't really passing the ball offense, but we know defense. Carl, you go guard the best guy.
That's the only reason I played basketball. That's the only reason that I was a starter at South Charleston High School as a basketball player.
But think now, but in some, and I ain't saying all kids, obviously, but in some parents' mind, it's like, well, my kid can't shoot the ball, then we're going to go somewhere else, or he going to quit.
Yes.
As opposed to saying, he really can't shoot. So now, or he or she can't shoot, but
Right.
what they can do is lock you up on defense. So that's what we're going to do, the Dennis Rodman theory, right?
Yeah.
Can't really do much else, but he can rebound and lock you down.
And it is, and that's called role playing.
And that's called playing your role.
And every sport has role players.
Every sport, every aspect of
At
life.
every level, yes.
Life has your role
life
player.
has a role player.
And you can be the number one in your role.
Yes.
So I'm saying, just back to round the conversation off, in my point of view, again, whether you reclass, that's on you, that's cool. But I know for me, just personally speaking, if my daughter, you gonna fight and you gonna find your role.
Yeah, I'm kind of with that too. I think that, you know, and man, this has been a good call, a good conversation, because I was curious about where you would be with it, but it is you made some very valid points, and I think that at the end of the day, when we look at the idea of reclassification or what is the betterment of our kids, I would challenge you to say, when you're asking that question, what's better for my kid, I would suggest that you ask, what can we do? What can we get done here, home, whatever? What can we do to be better right here? Like, what are we going to do? Can we go to the gym and not just shoot, but do footwork? Can we go to the field and throw 4 or 5 passes, not just bombs, but timing routes? You know what I'm saying? Can we do these kinds of things that we used to do? We would work on footwork. There'd be stuff I used to. Man, backpedaling and all that kind of stuff, man, I used to do all that stuff all the time. I don't know if there's anybody that's willing to be as a defensive back who's out there just because you look crazy. You know what I'm saying? You look crazy. You just backpedaling, opening up, and doing all that kind of stuff. But there's gold at the end of that.
It's gold at the end of it, man.
And we have to understand the value of that.
And it's gold to have the mindset that I'm going to fight for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to really fight for this. And I think that's what, like, I don't care what happens. I don't care what position I'm in. I'm going to figure it out. I'm telling you, if you can master that, I think you some success is going to come your way.
Some kind of way. And again, it will help you, that A student, those straight A students that's in athletics, who may not find their success in athletics, but what they will learn is that dog in the business, what you can do with those A's, where you can take those A's and become successful and fight for, getting to the top.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll make the case for you and not knowing the whole process, but the fight from you from jeans and a shirt to dress shoes and a coat and tie has been a fight.
Yeah.
It's been a fight.
Yeah.
And you got to go do this, you got to go do that, you got to do something that you don't want to do, you got to, all those kinds of things. But you're willing to do that because at the end of the day, there's a success that you have set. I know in my mind and heart and soul, I know that you have a target that you're trying to go after.
Yeah.
And I ain't asking and not trying to get that to come out. But that puts you in a space to where now you're willing to put in that type of work. That you gotta stay a little bit longer? Oh yeah, I'll stay longer. Yeah. You gotta do some extra work? Oh, I'll do that. You do that because that's the hunt. Mm-hmm. That's the hunt for the. Oh, you know what? When you ask him to do something, he'll do anything that you ask him. That works.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll wrap that up. Quick question for you, Hollis. I just want to figure out who you're for in the Super Bowl.
I grew up actually a 49er fan. I'm not so much a fan of them anymore. I would like to see them win, but I wouldn't bet no money against Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I think that if you go and stop him, you need to have a great defensive effort. So, I mean, as bad as I would like to see the Niners win, I think Brock Purdy's a great story, but I'll probably have to just say Mahomes.
See, I'm a Mahomes. I enjoy the reality of how great Mahomes is.
Great.
And just the creativity that he has. Yes. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but he had some personal issues, family issues that took place.
Oh yeah, but it's popular.
Yeah. And I know that's going to play on him. And somebody had made the comment too on Facebook about why does the Super Bowl have to take 2 weeks?
You need to heal up.
You want to get everybody that first week. You just going to just work, just talk about your team or the team that you're playing. Get some film work in, do some light work. Second week is going to be like a game week.
Yeah.
But in a situation like this, when you got personal issues, he may have to go deal with these issues. He may have to leave and go deal with these issues and come back, and then he's still got a full week to put in.
But I think like just the studying I've done of Mahomes, he's a different dude, man.
I think so too.
I think he actually this actually may not be good for the Niners that this happened, because he'll take all that. He'll add all that to the fire.
Yeah, I can go with you on that.
You know what I'm saying? I say he's an example of a kid who grew up maybe privileged, who dad, obviously dad wasn't in the poorhouse, dad was in Major League Baseball, but for whatever reason, he got the fire in him. And I think he'll take that
and pile it on.
And pile it on.
Yeah. I just can't. I'm salty with the 49ers. We lost to them. So I don't think I could ever really root for them.
I got you.
So I'm definitely going to go with Mahomes and the Chiefs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time, and hopefully you enjoyed the conversation, and maybe that kind of gave you some ideas about reclassification and all that and how we think about it, at least. All right, we will be back with you soon. We're out.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.